Hello, my name is Eric Torres, and I am going to walk you through my high incidence program E-Porfolio for the high incidence SPED program for the University of Kansas. So the very first page is my welcome page. As you can see, it is pretty much information about myself and why I went into special education. And then the very first course I'll go ahead and go into, which is SPED 730, which is Characteristics and Methods of Assessment. So for SPED 730, the artifact is the teacher interview. I chose the artifact because it provided a learning opportunity to interact with professionals who also work with students with exceptionalities. Moreover, it provided an opportunity to learn from individuals who hold a position in which I wish to hold in the future. This artifact was not revised. There was no feedback that indicated I needed to make any revisions, so it remains unchanged. From this artifact, I gained a deeper understanding in the value of making connections with experienced teachers and professionals who have worked with SPED students for quite some time. And for this assignment, I took the subjective point of view. The interview was based on subjective information like my feelings and thoughts and opinions from the interview and also interviewee. The next one is SPED 741. This is Methods and Assessment Literacy Interventions for Struggling Learners. For SPED 741, the artifact is a case study based on literacy assessments. So I chose this artifact because it provided me a great opportunity to utilize literacy assessment tools that I have learned about throughout the course. I assessed a student in one of the 5 areas of literacy. In particularly, I assessed in comprehension. With this course, I acquired a deep understanding of literacy and the value of assessing my students in the components of literacy. Moreover, I gained knowledge on how to effectively implement interventions in order to help my students become more successful in literacy. Revisions for this assignment was not needed. The feedback from the professor did not indicate that I needed to make any changes. And for this assignment, I took an objective approach, an objective point of view. The data was used throughout the assessment of the student, and I used that data and incorporated in my reflections. Next course is 743. This is Functional Behavior Assessments, FBA, and Positive Behavior Supports. And for 743, the artifact was the Functional Assessment Behavior Intervention, or the FABI assignment. I chose this artifact because I learned a great deal from the assignment and in general from the whole course. The assignment provided me space to implement behavior principles, techniques, and strategies in order to create a complete FBA, or Functional Behavior Assessment, and BIP, or Behavior Intervention Plan, for students who need more supports in their behaviors. In this course and with this assignment, I gained a deep understanding of behavior principles, supports, and techniques that can be used in the classrooms and to help create a safer and more positive learning environment. The point of view I used for writing my reflection was a subjective point of view. I learned a lot from this course, therefore I feel like my reflection expresses a lot of ideas, opinions, and also how I feel how the course went. Next one, is SPED 755, and there are 3 artifacts for this, so I'll briefly touch base with them. The first is the IEP assignment. I chose this artifact because it is important to have a deep understanding of a student's IEP. This assignment pretty much proved that learning the IEP is extremely important. I had to choose one student, which would be my case student for this whole IEP assignment. and I had to thoroughly analyze their IEP so that way I could apply their strengths, needs, modifications, and accommodations in the future assignment, which would be the teaching video. Um, let's see. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and kind of touch base with the teaching video because all these assignments kind of blended together. So with the video artifact, it was me teaching a lesson, which was pretty much, it included a lesson plan that incorporated the needs, strengths, and interests, preferences, accommodations, and modifications of the student from the previous IEP assignment. And with this video, I had to make reflections on it, about three to five observations, and it leads me to the journal reflection. So as I was making observations in the video, I had to create a journal reflection based upon those observations. So the journal reflection required me to connect 3 to 5 observations from the video to evidence-based articles on a particular topic, and that topic was feedback. From there, we had to pretty much confirm whether or not the articles will confirm or refute our analysis of feedback of which we observed in the video. Now, in general, from all 3 of these artifacts, I learned a great deal about reflection and knowing that there is evidence-based practices out there that do back up, like feedback, for example. And also, it provided me a great opportunity to reflect and learn more on how to be a better practitioner in education. Next course is SPED 841. So in SPED 841, the artifact chosen is the blended unit. I chose this artifact because it taught me the value of using technology or incorporating technology in the classroom in order to help reach my struggling learners. I learned there are many technological platforms available that can be used in the classroom. And also on knowing that these here platforms can help engagement and also help students in their learning process. For this assignment, I did not revise because the feedback provided did not indicate a need for any revision. And for the reflection portion of this, I wrote objectively because I was explaining data and facts that I learned throughout my research project into my reflection. The next one is SPED 843. And in SPED 843, the artifact chosen is Assessing Social Skill Deficits Part 1 and Part 2. Now, I chose this artifact. There's 2 different artifacts. I chose the 2 different artifacts because the 2 artifacts taught me the value of being able to identify social behavior deficits in students and also how to apply appropriate interventions to help students lessen their deficits or pretty much close the gap in their social skills. So with this, there was a case study provided by the course. And with this case study, we had to analyze the scenario at which the student was in. So his name was Bobby, and we had to analyze the situation that he was in. And we had to identify social behaviors that were in need of modification or manipulation in order to improve his social skills. Now, once we were able to do that, then we had to apply the intervention. Now, I learned a great deal from this assignment, such as learning to look for appropriate behaviors, how to appropriately modify those behaviors, and what kind of interventions we can use. This particular assignment, I did need to modify not modify, I'm sorry. I did need revision for the part two because I did not provide a complete analysis in my part two. So I had to go back and complete the part two of my analysis with the interventions. Now, for this reflection, I wrote in the subjective form. So pretty much I was providing my own feelings or opinions about what was about the assignment at hand. The next course is SPED 854. And this is family and interpersonal collaboration. So this was the coaching conversation artifact. Now, as I mentioned, the artifact chosen for this was the coaching conversation. I chose this artifact because it taught me how to have those conversations or coaching conversations with other professionals that I interact on a daily basis. So with this assignment, just to briefly describe it, we were provided two scenarios and we had to create a coaching conversation on how we would approach that scenario as a professional. And this particular artifact did not need revision. The feedback provided by my professor did not indicate any type of need for revision. And for this assignment, I did write in a subjective manner. My reflection was based on my own feelings and opinions of what I've learned throughout this course. Any type of feelings I may have had as well was incorporated within my reflection. The next one is SPED 875. And again, this is a course that has 3 different artifacts. And the first artifact is assessing student learning. The second one is a teaching video, and the third is another journal reflection. So with student assessment learning, or assessing student learning, I apologize, we had to use we were assessing for student learning in I had to get with a teacher and we had to assess student learning about a particular topic. And so we used platforms such as Socrative to pretty much test and see how well students were learning the content. And with my mentor teacher, we analyzed the data and we came up with some interventions to use to help bridge the gap of learning within the students. So we created a lesson plan, and within that lesson plan, we incorporated a writing assessment, and then we also did a couple of different. We did an intervention to help students learn, and that was visible within the teaching video. And we also had to pretty much make some reflections about the teaching video on how we executed the lesson plan. And then the third artifact, which is the journal reflection, we had to connect our observations with a universal design for learning, reflection, and new understanding. So we had to use evidence-based articles and we had to connect our observations to the Danielson framework. Now, this whole course provided me another opportunity to become a reflective practitioner, to learn how to assess students and to to interpret the data to see where we need to go back with learning, how can we bridge that learning gap, and keep that continuum process going of assessing and seeing what type of interventions we can input for students to make them be more successful in content. This is the end of the first video, and then I will start the second video for my reflections.